Hi, David. Today we're talking about the Gay Heritage Project, so let's get right into it. So, I think that the piece is diving into, well, the multifaceted nature of heritage. In queer communities, it's asking what it means to inherit, adapt, and shape our identity, especially when in the absence of a clear and traceable lineage. A lot of effort went into erasing gay heritage and gay prolific identity. So being able to find and connect with figures through history is hard and takes time. Creators through this play investigate the actual process that many gay people, LGBTQ people, have had to go through to shape their own identity and trace their lineage using fragments and recollections, community stories, cultural symbols that were able to survive the erasure and serious neglect through time. The play functions as a literal journey through time and space itself, unearthing forgotten and hidden histories of prolific queer individuals, which allows the audience, cast, and the individuals themselves to re experience and contemplate what these people did, what it means to be a gay person in the past, present, and future. And everyone in the room is sort of going through that at the same time. The play uses elements of absurdity and absurd humor to achieve its goals. In scene 1.2, it goes through the ideas of creation and the creation of the gay from God. It is an incredibly silly, yet somewhat biblically accurate, satirical piece that handles very heavy ideas and uses absurdity and the idea that, oh, we're in an ethereal space where this ethereal idea of being gay is not only created by an ethereal concept of God, it handles so many yada yadas story wise, but that doesn't matter because it's talking about an overarching goal that it handles through its dialogue and through the character context that we understand why it needs to be God and why it needs to be gay being created. Um, and it uses absurd humor, swear words, vulgarity, priests and nuns saying things you wouldn't expect them to be able to provide that joy and pleasure and make it still a very, very enjoyable process. And you still connect with these characters as specified individuals, even though it's handling such dark and sometimes very, very descriptive ideas and experiences. Um, yeah, so through the journey, through time and space, it explores the idea of challenging the dominant narrative. It brings up marginalized histories to the forefront and invests in addressing the gaps in mainstream historical records. It brings up the ideas of who these people really were. They did actually exist. We do often label them as something else, and that is a very recent thing. I liked how it used the idea of Roman and Greek cultures as an example of not even understanding what gay would mean or sexuality would mean. It was just the thing they did. You just were attracted to something and then did it. And I think that they outlined that in an absurd way once more by meeting an actual ancient Greek and attempting to converse with them, which translated beautifully, humorously, and also provided the point that we can't impose moralistic values through time because even if these people had qualities that we now revere and they are representative of, that doesn't mean that those were the qualities that necessarily they were representative at the time. When we meet Da Vinci, and in one of my moments that I really appreciated, Da Vinci says, you wanted to find your history. What are you going to do with the history you don't like? And Paul and Andrew stand there contemplating that question because that's an important question. They came here finding figures that would only represent the positive and amazing side of gay heritage and history, and they find out that that doesn't exist. So where do you go from there? Do you abandon the project altogether, or do you realize that people are complex? There's not always just good and there's not always just bad. It's a lot of always a mixture of both. Yeah. And considering all of that, the question I would ask would be, why did you choose the figures you did? As an Italian, I was really excited to see Da Vinci, and I was able to connect with a lot of that stuff. Not the sleeping with children, but like the idea of having to hide your sexuality from your religious Italian side and the fact that he was such a prolific gay person and all of his works were still needed by the church, like they couldn't do anything about it. It was a very big historical deal. And the fact that he was still not, by modern standards, someone that you can consider a hero is a super interesting idea of why did you include him. And I think I know why, because, it brings questions of, are our greatest heroes, and should we make people's heroes? But why did you choose the figures that you did? And what was the criteria for choosing the figures that you did in your selection process? Because I did realize many of them were guys. I'm just curious. I would be curious to ask, like, what was that selection process like? I'm sure that's just because we know more of male history, unfortunately. But thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.